Great. Wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, okay, so turn on the volume. And great. Once again, I apologize for this impromptu chat, but I wanted to just say hello, and I hope things are doing well. So it's now 11:50 p.m. here in Japan on the 21st of December 2019, and it's Saturday evening. So the family has all gone to bed, and I'm here alone, and I am about to watch a movie which I just received a few hours ago. I'm very excited. I haven't seen this yet. And the title of the film is, this one. So I just got this Blu-ray, which it's not a Japanese Blu-ray. This is the US release. It's called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I've heard a lot of interesting things about this film. And so after I finish with this YouTube thing tonight, I will go to bed. But before that, I will put this in and give it a try. So I'm looking forward to this very much. I kind of know what happens, unfortunately, with the story. I was reading something some time back when it was originally released, and I think the details of the story were revealed to me. So, but I kind of know what's going on before I watch it. So that's a little bit of a shame, but that's on me. That's my fault for not being more diligent and more careful with my own reading of about this film, contemporary reading of this film. But in any event, my friends, I'm still looking forward to this very much. So, and I also want to say that let's see, today's Saturday here in Japan, right? So Friday, yesterday, I was invited by a very good friend of mine, one of my closest friends who lives in Tokyo. He and I actually went to the same university together. So we went to university and we shared. We were in some of the same classes actually. And after we both graduated, we kind of went on our separate ways. And eventually, though, he came to live in Tokyo. And he's been living here for a number of years now, actually. A very, very good friend of mine. He's very knowledgeable about film and music and art. Much more than I. He's much more knowledgeable than I, and he's a very nice guy. And he and I had, or we have this sort of tradition that we would go together to see the latest Star Wars films as they were released in the theaters here in Tokyo, initially released. So I remember, whatever it was, however many years back, he and I went to see the film The Force Awakens together in the theater. And I think must have been opening night here, or somewhere around that, maybe Friday, whatever it was. And then we went to see The Last Jedi together. And that was also at or around opening night when it was playing here in Tokyo. So I think you can tell where this is going. Then that meant, therefore, that he very kindly invited me to go see the film. What was it called? The Rise of Skywalker. Yes, well, I just saw it. I can't believe I nearly forgot. But yes, The Rise of Skywalker, or Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Okay. And so we saw it in the theater, and it wasn't 3D, it wasn't IMAX, but it was very thick sound, Dolby Atmos, I think, and it was very, very surrounding, and it was an all-encompassing experience. The screen itself was not IMAX, as I said, but it was a very big screen, very wide. The theater was huge, and it was packed. And you went to, I think it was a 6 p.m. showing, because it was for me after work. And so, yeah, he invited me. He was very kind to get tickets in advance, and I paid him afterwards, of course, but for my ticket. But he arranged to get the tickets, and it was for a showing that was very convenient to my schedule, and it was very close. The theater was very close to my place of work, so I just had to walk. It was only about a 10-minute walk from my office to the theater, so that was a very generous thing for my friend to do. Is I was very kind. If you're watching, I want to say thank you very much, my friend. I enjoyed myself very much. And then after that, after the film was over, we decided to go have a bite to eat and have some drinks. And so we had some drinks and had a wonderful time and talking about many things, not least of which being, of course, the film that we had just seen together, which was Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Now, I don't want to turn this into a kind of, it's not going to be a review, and it's not going to be I'm not going to talk about any details of the film, because I know people are probably going to watch the film looking forward to it and all. And I understand perfectly the kind of situation and state that Star Wars is in, whether you want to see it in terms of positive light or negative light or something, or and that sort of thing. And it's been a very interesting ride throughout these several years since the news hit that Disney had purchased Lucasfilm. And soon after that, they really hit the ground running with trying to develop new films for this Disney era of Star Wars, if you will. As not just films, of course, but primarily the films. And of course, that was then centered around other expressions of the exploitation of the relevant IP and all that. So it's been a very interesting several years. I was born in I was born in 1979, and so that means I was born after the first Star Wars had been released. So I'd never seen the first Star Wars in the movie theater. I have memories of seeing The Empire Strikes Back, but those are, I admit, very foggy and cloudy, and I don't associate watching that film with any kind of memory of seeing it in the theater. I don't remember that at all, so I don't even know if I ever saw it in the theater. I don't think I did. I don't think my parents ever took me to see Empire Strikes Back. I would have been much too young anyway, considering that it was released in 1980. I would have been what, 1 year old or something. So it would have been totally inappropriate to take a young baby to go see Empire Strikes Back. So I don't think I saw that in the theater. So, but I do have memories of seeing it. So that must have been after the fact, maybe when this was around the time when VHS was beginning to take hold, of course. So I could be thinking about watching it on VHS, which is how I ended up knowing the films quite extensively, with the whole CBS Fox VHS with the cardboard covers and all. So that it was that was that was how I got to know them most. And then, of course, there was Return of the Jedi, which I do remember seeing. I don't remember vividly the memory of seeing in the theater, but I do recall the impression of being a little kid and experiencing that. And so, I guess I could call myself maybe a Return of the Jedi kid when it comes to really getting into Star Wars. And so it's been that kind of situation. And then, of course, I was a child of the '80s, and so the films became ingrained in me upon my rewatch and rewatch and rewatch of the films on VHS, as well as TV and all that. But it was mostly VHS, and so that's how I got to know the films. And then I was in high school when the special editions were released, or they were first announced, and I was very excited about them. And then so I saw all the films as they were released one at a time. It was really great. And I remember the first time seeing the trailer for the first special edition. You remember that trailer? It started with the TV, and it had the muted sound, and the narrator is talking about and I think the shot was the rebel attack on the Death Star or something like that, or the X-wings flying through space and stuff. And I thought it was a little bit, I don't know. I always thought that trailer, as great as that trailer was, I always thought that was a little bit. It was kind of taking a shot at the mode in which I knew Star Wars best, which was on VHS and watching them on TV. You know, of course, I understand the spectacle and the awe and the pure magic that can be created when watching a film in the theater. It can't be replicated. I completely get that, right? But there's just something quite charming and how does Jack Nicholson describe the Overlook Hotel, right? It's very homey. So there is something very at home or homey about that kind of experience for me. It was watching it, and so I was so I was kind of how should I put it? I was not wholly on board when I saw the special editions, but I was still very excited because it meant watching Star Wars, and it was really great, you know, to be able to see it in the theater, because I had never been able to see Star Wars in the theater. But you know, I was with everyone with that, and I didn't quite feel into all the various changes with the special editions, and so I was very insistent on trying to get copies of the original versions, the pre-special edition versions. And so I have the copies of those, and I will never get rid of them because I think they're really, really great to have. I'm not really a big fan of the special editions, to be perfectly frank, but I don't blame anyone who likes them. I can see the appeal, and I can see the reasons why those special editions were implemented. There were many reasons, of course, but I think one of the primary reasons was the ability to try to update the films in a way in anticipation for what will be the prequel trilogy, you know, episodes 1, episodes 2, and episodes 3, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. So. And there's a nice sense of integration, I must admit, when one is watching the special edition and then one is watching the prequel trilogy. There's a kind of visual integration. What did George Lucas say in that The Phantom Menace documentary? It's like poetry, it rhymes. So it's sort of like that. It felt a little bit like a more integrated epic poem. So there's that, and then of course there was the Phantom Menace, and I remember I went to see the Phantom Menace in the theater with great anticipation, and although I do recall that when I first saw the trailer for the first time for the Phantom Menace, I thought in my head it felt like I was looking at a video game, and so I was a little bit, I don't know if perturbed was the right word, but I was a little bit ill at ease when I first saw the trailer. I felt this kind of feels weird, and I wasn't quite used to it. And I saw the film. Well, I tried to get myself into it. I remember prior to the film's release, there was the release of a kind of music video, which was called Duel of the Fates, because it was using the particular special theme music that was for Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And so I was very much into that because it featured Darth Maul, and Darth Maul was the new bad guy, and there's a lot of clips of the films, and we could hear Darth Maul's voice, and it was really great. And it It relied upon a line which I don't think was used in the film. Fear attracts the fearful, the weak, or something like. Those of you who know Star Wars better than I, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That line didn't appear in the final film, of course, but it appeared in the music video, and it appeared in some, I think, TV spots that featured Darth Maul, or a TV spot that featured Darth Maul. And then I watched the film, and I went through a huge phase with that. I tried to like it, and then I realized that I really didn't like it at all, and it was quite disappointing. But then some years later, I watched it again with my children, or in particular with my older daughter, and she really got into it. And so I think I was able to enjoy the film more through watching it kind of through her eyes. And so now I enjoy the film quite a lot. The Phantom Menace, I mean. I enjoy the film quite a lot, although I do acknowledge that it does, I think, obviously have a lot of flaws. And I, like many other people, was and still am a great fan of what's that channel? Red Letter Media. So Red Letter Media, of course, was it still is some of the best work out there. And their work on Star Wars films, and in particular The Phantom Menace, I think put them on the map. And you couldn't ignore what they were saying, because I think for the most part what they were saying about The Phantom Menace and for the other Star Wars films was really on the money. Really great analysis. Even with the what is it? Well, anyway, I don't want to get too much into that, but that, I think, for me, The Phantom Menace will always be. It's something that I try. It takes me a lot of energy to try to get into. So it's not like it's an impossible task, but it does take some energy for me to get into, I admit. But once I am able to exert that energy, I think it becomes a really fun experience. But it does take some energy. But then what was I saying? So, and I felt the same way about the rest of the prequel films. In fact, I think actually my favorite film of the prequel trilogy is Attack of the Clones. I like Attack of the Clones because I like its sort of mystery element to it. I like the fact, although it doesn't really solve the mystery, it goes towards the kind of mystery of what are these clones, and who was Sifo Dyas, and what was going on Kamino, and all this stuff, and I thought that was really cool. And then the whole assassination plot at the beginning, and we actually go into we right, and what's going on, and then all of a sudden all these people start coming in. Count Dooku, who's this guy, and suddenly we see all these other people, Geonosis, and all that, and so it starts to get a little bit like I have no idea what's going on, but I like that sort of, mystery element. It was almost like a detective story, and Obi-Wan Kenobi was like a detective, just trying to follow the trail. So I thought that was really neat, and I enjoyed that very much. And I also liked Count Dooku. I like him as a character, and I like Christopher Lee. I thought it was a stroke of genius to bring Christopher Lee into the fold here, which was brilliant, especially when we consider the great actors of the past that were in the original trilogy, of course, including Sir Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing, of course. And then to have Christopher Lee as Count Dooku in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and then, of course, later in Revenge of the Sith. Really quite brilliant. So I like that film. I do acknowledge also that it has a lot of flaws, but it was a really, I thought it was, for me, fine. I think of the films, I think that's the one it takes me the least amount of energy to get into, but I do acknowledge its flaws. And then, of course, there's Revenge of the Sith, which I really got into, but, I do admit that it feels like, for me, the last Well, that's maybe the last 30 minutes is the best part of the film, and everything is basically just a lead up, a build up to that. And so I'm just waiting for the final act to take place, or maybe the last 45 minutes or so to take place. And once everything, that final act, you know what I mean, is just, it's non-stop. It's really just really amazing. And as much as I love the stuff between Count Dooku and Yoda, and then here we have, of course, a lot of stuff going on with the final 45 minutes, and so I really enjoyed that. But I must admit that the bulk of the film at the beginning I felt was a little bit. It was good, but it wasn't great. I thought the last part was actually great, but so it was greatness included in a film which had some good parts, if you know what I mean. But it was overall a fun time at the movie theater. And then fast forward many years later to The Force Awakens, and I remember, I don't want to go into too many details, but I remember when I first saw it in the theater, I liked it, but I thought there were some, like, I don't quite understand what's going on here, moments, but I thought, okay, maybe this will be explained as the trilogy progresses. You know how that is. Like, there are some things in Star Wars that are not necessarily explained until we get to Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi or that sort of thing. And so I sort of was waiting for the trilogy to end to give me a better sense of how these films would operate. And I felt the same way about The Last Jedi. You know, after I saw The Last Jedi, I was left with a ton of questions. I mean, and I don't think that the film necessarily meant for me to have all these questions, but I had a ton of questions afterwards, and I was thinking, you know, what's where's the direction of these films? Where are they going? I'm not quite sure what's going on. I'm watching this film, and it feels like I'm not. I think all the sorts of questions were answered in a very, I felt, concrete way. I didn't think that there was much. I don't know. I had to be perfectly honest. I didn't quite know where the story was going to go next. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and so, and there were other issues that I had with the film. I know there are some criticisms about certain aspects of how certain characters were treated in that film or how they were depicted. And while I kind of share those feelings, I also don't mind those criticisms. I don't mind those aspects of The Last Jedi as much as I do other things about The Last Jedi. And so it's one that but I thought at the end, I thought I will reserve my judgment on The Last Jedi until I've seen the final film, Rise of Skywalker, because I felt that if I see the final film, that will help me to see The Last Jedi maybe in a different light. So I was just holding off on my final judgment of The Last Jedi until I saw the third and final film in this perceived new trilogy. And then so last night, my friend invited me to go see the film Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and I saw it, and I must admit, I was very, again, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I was, again, left with a lot of questions as to what was going on. And I think I kind of knew what was going on, but at the same time, it felt like what's going on? I wasn't quite, maybe I'm getting slower in my old age, perhaps, but I felt, actually, I was having a little bit of difficulty keeping up with exactly what was going on, but, you know, maybe there would be, and I don't want to say too much about it, but I think, how should I put it? I think there will be people who like the film very much, and then there will be people who don't like the film. I mean, that seems like pretty much the kind of reaction that I think every film in history gets. Or some people who like it, some people who don't. So this is no exception to that rule. And so it's but I look forward to hearing people's thoughts on it as the days and weeks and months pass, and time settles, and the dust settles, and people can look at it as a kind of maybe look at it from the perspective of the entire 9 films. Is it? Yeah, it's yeah. I'm not quite sure how I can perceive the film in the context of the entire 9 films. I must admit, I don't think of the film in the context of the 9th film. I think of it more as the third film in this new trilogy. And it's much easier for me to think of it in that term, in that way. And as such, it feels like an ending, although it really, I must, again, it was really hard for me to follow sometimes. I must admit, though, that I think what it did really, really well, and again, I'll be as vague as possible. What it did, I thought, really, really well was it handled I think the 2 characters of Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver. I thought their performances, I thought, were really, really good. That was the best part of the movie for me, is when you see one or two or both of them together. Oh, that was just brilliant. And I thought, oh, I want more of this. I thought this is really great. But and I like that too, because those characters and their relationship kind of had an interesting development from the first film, The Force Awakens, and then The Last Jedi, and then up to this new film. And it went this way and this way and that way. I wasn't quite sure how it would be developed, but I thought that was the best part, and I liked how the characters were developed here. And I enjoyed. I thought that in particular, Daisy Ridley was really great. Of the 3 films, I liked her performance and her characterization of Rey here in this film. I thought it was the best of the 3 films, because she shows a real vulnerability in the performance, which I don't quite. I don't know if we've seen glimpses of vulnerability, but not quite like this. And so I thought this was the best depiction of this character in this trilogy. And I was really much pleased with that. But again, that's all I'll say about that. So I don't want to carry on too much about that, but I know that people are going to go and see it because it's a very big deal and it's heavily marketed, and it should be a lot of fun. So I hope people have a lot of fun with it, and just enjoy it for what it is. And even if you enjoy it, or if you don't enjoy it, it's just a movie. So you can always go back to your whatever it is, Blu-rays or DVDs or VHS tapes or laser discs or whatever they are of the earlier Star Wars films, or the prequel films, or the original trilogy, or whatever the case may be for whatever, or even the new trilogy. I haven't seen Solo yet. I really have to see Solo, A Star Wars Story. Is that what it is? I haven't seen that yet, but I did see Rogue One, and so I thought that was really great. I thought that was really interesting, and but I have to see Solo. I guess I don't know if I have time to see it, but anyway. So that was where I have been in terms of my Friday night movie watching, and so I think. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what people think about the film. I don't talk about the Star Wars films here on this channel too much. I suppose I could, but it's just, I think there are many other channels on YouTube, and there are other blogs that do it much, much better than I could ever hope to do. But they have been films that really meant a lot to me. and they still do. And so I have a kind of, how should I put it? It's a kind of, it's a peculiar reaction that I have to this latest film. It's yeah, it feels, yeah. I'm not quite sure. I don't think it's settled in my mind yet, but um, it's it's sort of, how should I explain it? It's like, I don't know. I feel like I felt like I was miniaturized, and I was thrown into a blender and mixed in with like a lot of other ingredients, and I was just, and someone pushed the button on the blender and it just went on like full blast, and I was just thrown around inside the blender, not quite knowing where I was, and then suddenly stopped, and I was thrown out, and then that was the end of the movie. That's how I felt after I felt I was just been through a blender. And so I like, and so that can be a good thing, because sometimes there's a kind of a visceral thrill, of being in that kind of situation. But I must admit, I felt a little bit of disorientation at the end there, but it wasn't necessarily disappointment, because, as I say, I didn't, when I was going into the film, and then as I was walking out of the film, I never thought of it as the ninth film, what do they call it, the Skywalker saga. I was never really into that nomenclature that was used in the marketing. I understand the reasoning behind using the Skywalker saga as part of the marketing, but I was never really into that. I thought it was a little bit, it felt like a little bit of, it this new trilogy doesn't feel like an extension of the Skywalker saga in a sense. It feels more like its own thing. And so I never thought of it as really like an extension of, or how should I put it? I never thought of it as like a linear thing. I always thought of this trilogy as its own trilogy. And so that stuff never really sunk in. And so I never, I walked in not thinking of it as the final film in the 9-film saga. I just thought of it as the final film in this new trilogy, and then I felt that way too when I walked out. So, with that thinking in mind, I felt it was a pretty, I think, apt way to resolve certain things of those 3 films. But it'll be interesting to see what people react, and already we're seeing reactions to the film, and I think it was. I think it was. There have been some reviews already, and I'm not quite sure. I haven't read all of them yet, but it'll be interesting to see how the reactions will start to congeal around certain viewpoints and stuff. And I think positive viewpoints and negative viewpoints, even the negative ones, not even the negative ones and the positive, everything is fair game with any film. And this film is no exception. So it'll be very interesting to see how this is going. But in any event, my friends, that's it for that little spiel. So as soon as this is over, I will just turn off the YouTube thing and then watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I look forward to that very much. But before I go, my friends, let me just go to the chat room and see how all of you are doing. So Touch of Film is here. Hello. Thomas Pinkerton, hello. Asian movie enthusiast is here. All Things Film, Merry Christmas. Andres Villogas, hello to you. Good morning from my side of the world. Okay, so it's good morning to you. Hello, I hope you're well. Wolfgratz, hello. Good afternoon, evening, whatever indeed. Yes. Nico Taylor, hello. Sin, XINN81, good morning, hello. Matthew, what's it? Scarinci. I hope I got that correct. If not, I apologize. What an incredible film. I think you're referring to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I hope you enjoy. I hope I enjoy it too. Let's see. So, Cine Arts, hello. How are you doing? Matt Swick is here. Hello. Mike Eli from Las Vegas. It's nice to see you. Unity Duty and Destiny. Oh, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, I felt like, but it's nice to see. I hope maybe you've been busy, but I hope you're well. Andre, Andre's great. Great to see you. B Movie. Hello, it's nice to see you. Okay, so there's some people. Rep Reviews. Hello, Mr. Hello, hello. Please call me Daisuke. All my friends call me Daisuke, so please call me Daisuke. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, Unity, Duty, and Destiny says the CBS Fox released VHS tapes were always in and out of my VCR growing up. Yes, and I still recall that logo. It was like the logo. You're traveling through some kind of crevasse or some kind of valley or something, right? And it went like this, and then suddenly it emerged, and it was the CBS Fox logo. It was like dun dun dun, right? Dun 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 dun. That was so great. Let's see. And Wolfgat says you saw the films on the big screen when they were coming out. That's great. Let's see. Let's see here. So just, okay, Asian Movie Enthusiast says, I'm not a fan of the special editions. Some of the added effects are embarrassing and or make no logical sense. M.E. says, Daisuke, have you ever seen on cinema at the cinema? Or if so, do you find it funny or at all entertaining? Well, I'm not sure. But Amy, it's nice to see you. I don't, maybe I'm a little bit slow on the mark tonight, so I don't quite, maybe I'm not quite understanding your question, but that's on me. Again, it's getting late here, so maybe I don't quite understand. I apologize for my lack of ability to understand that, but I hope you're well in any event. Let's see, so I'm sorry I'm skipping around here. Malachite is here. Hello. What's the new the Terrence Malick film, by the way? Hidden Life, is that did I get the title right? I just found out that will be released in certain select theaters, small theaters here in Tokyo, January 4th. So I'm looking forward to that. So I have to catch that. I think I'll be able to, because I'll still be off of work. Great. Let's see. Grofgrat says forewarned would be the word, Daisuke. I wonder what that refers to. Malachite says, I was extremely excited to see Phantom Menace. While sitting in the theater, all I remember thinking was, when is this going to start being a Star Wars movie? Well, that's an interesting point. I think for me, it felt, oh gosh, there were a lot of moments that I thought were kind of Star Warsy. And it feels Star Warsy now, I think, but that's, of course, it's been however many years, well, I don't want to lose track of that, but let's see. Yeah, and the Wolfgratz replies, it's a kids' film. Having said that, there are plenty of kids' films I really love. Phantom Menace is not one of them. Yes. RLM are brilliant. I don't even watch new Star Wars films anymore. I just watch the reviews and am satisfied. Or Red Letter Media. So I love Red Letter Media. They had I think they're so interesting, really interesting stuff they do, Red Letter Media. I'm a huge fan of them. And they do like the best of the worst, and they do the thing where they have all the things on a little, it's like Plinketto. What was that game? The Price is Right. That they go on the top and they throw the little thing down and it hits I'm really good at explaining things today, as you can tell. But they also put things on a wheel and they spin it on a wheel, and they watch these movies purported to be really bad. And it's I love seeing how they are engaging with the work. They're going along with it. They're laughing at it, and I think that's really quite. All of the reactions are very legitimate, and their takes are, I think, very good. But their work on it was the Star Trek films before, and then it was the Star Wars films. I thought was really on the mark, and there was one that they did for The Last Jedi, and I never really noticed this because I'm not really familiar with The Last Jedi supplemental materials as other people are. But they quoted the bit where Mark Hamill is saying about he talks about Ryan Johnson. I think he calls him Brian Johnson. I thought that was really funny. But anyway, yeah, I think they're really great. Yeah, Matthew says, knowing Daisuke watches Plinkett reviews made my... Yes, 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 I'm a big fan of, Mr. Plinkett, and, I know all the little... I'm a big fan of all that stuff, and the little stories that they do with the cat, and, this... How do they open, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace is the most disappointing thing since my son, or something like that. So I love those. I love those, and... they do all these really sinister things, right? And then of course I know what's his name, Rich Evans. Rich Evans actually plays Mr. Plinkett, but the voice is not Rich Evans's voice. But incidentally, I like Rich Evans. There's also a video where he dressed up as George Lucas and he went to a convention or something like that. I thought that was a really funny video. Incidentally, they also did a video that they were approaching, I think this was around the time that they were going to hit, it was 1 million subscribers, which is a huge deal. That's a huge deal. So they're big superstars, right? And just as they were about to hit 1 million views on YouTube, you'd think that they would be doing these more maybe film-related videos or something like that. But no, they released a video around this time, which was something like they did a little comedy sketch about a grill. It was the most just horrifying and funniest things I've ever seen in a long time. And I just couldn't believe what I was watching. And it was really quite something else. And I was thinking, oh, these guys have a lot of and they have a lot of gusto. So yes, I'm a big fan of them. So Mike says, I keep seeing Blu-rays for the original trilogy despecialized on eBay. They're obviously bootlegs, but they're sold in Criterion cases with the original artwork. I'll probably roll the dice on them. Yes, you could, if you have the laser discs. Laser discs are usually the way to go. I have the DVDs which are based off of those, and those are the official releases that were made through a limited time, and where they were DVDs, and so they had on one disc the special edition, and then on the second disc was the non-specialized version, and these were sanctioned releases from Lucasfilm. So I have those DVDs, and I will never get rid of those. So, and I apologize for skipping around here, but let's see. Pedro E is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. And let's see. Again, I apologize. Thomas here. Thomas, good morning, all of you good people out there. My dad is a big Star Wars fan. He was 10 years old when he saw the very first episode in 1977. It brings back fond memories of his childhood. Oh, that's good to hear. Well, that's great. Great. Let's see, just iSelects 101 says you should start a podcast with like-minded Criterion enthusiasts. Well, thank you for the suggestion. That's really nice of you. That's a really good idea. Let's see. I'm sorry again. I'm skipping around here. I apologize if I've skipped all your if I've skipped your comments here. Okay. Let's see. Matthew says, it's funny because we had an opportunity to see it last night. I think you're referring to The Rise of Skywalker. And me and my friends decided to see Uncut Gems for a second time instead of Star Wars because how much we loved it. I've heard a lot of great things about Uncut Gems. A lot of great things. And so I really want to see that now. But again, I don't know when it's going to get released here in Tokyo. And if it doesn't, I might have to rely on trying to watch it on a DVD or Blu-ray or something. But I do want to see it. Let's see. Iacona 23. Hello, it's nice to see you. Daisuke of all people says it's just a movie. Okay, if you can stay mellow about these films and keep life in perspective, then I can definitely avoid extreme anger over what Disney has done. Yeah, it's I'm with you. I understand exactly the perspective on that. It's you know I I do have a how should I put it? I'm 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 very much perplexed by some of the ways in which the things in the films develop. Let me put it that way. But you know, um, it's only a movie. I mean, it's yeah, it's kind of like how should I put it? Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I think they're really great films, but it's sort of like my take on Halloween and Halloween 2. I don't know if I've ever explained this, but Halloween, the John Carpenter film, I think is great. And then there's Halloween 2, which is more of the night he came home, which is a kind of continuation of the film, which I think is also really good, but it takes the film story and takes it in a certain direction, which on the one hand, I think as a sort of short-term thrill and surprise, I think it really works. But in terms of the long game, I think it doesn't quite add up. But I still enjoy Halloween 2 for what it is. But as a kind of franchise film, I don't know if it's really the direction that I would necessarily prefer as my own individual take on films. So it took me a while, but it's sometimes possible, and I don't admit success every time, but it's sometimes possible for me to look at those films and say, okay, I can look at Halloween as its own thing without necessarily thinking about Halloween 2. I can kind of think of it that way. In other words, the existence of a sequel doesn't necessarily always affect my view of the film that came before the sequel. So I am able sometimes to watch the film, the first film, and not necessarily have to rely on stuff that comes up in the sequel. It doesn't work for all films. It works for some films, but not all films. I think a great case in point would be the Godfather films. It doesn't work for me at all with the Godfather films. It's impossible for me to separate those films from each other. In particular, the first Godfather and Godfather Part 2. But they are distinct films. I do understand that. But something like that with Halloween and Halloween 2 is I think relatively easier for me. And also, therefore, the Disney Star Wars films, and then let's say the George Lucas Star Wars films, I think they're very easy for me to distinguish or to separate. And so I think that helps me to view the films in a way, in a certain way. But at the same time, I completely get all this stuff that's going on. You know, I'm also, you know, I read stuff online and I watch stuff online, so I completely get all that stuff about you know, the certain views of the films. I've never spoken about it here on this channel because it's not my focus here, because I don't have the strong knowledge base in the world of Star Wars. But I completely get where that is coming from. Certainly. Let's see. Yeah, and in Iacona you say it's absolutely false marketing and a deeply dishonest title. The Skywalker Saga has a perfect ending at a celebration on Endor in 1983. I completely agree with you. The new trilogy was all about Rey, the Disney Rey trilogy. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Although, as I say, I think the character works, for me anyway, it works best in this film. Although, is it good enough to sustain these films throughout time? Only time will tell, but I don't think so. But we'll see. And let's see. Okay, Mike says. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over Malachite's comment here. So I have a Mr. Plinkett poster signed by everyone at Red Letter Media, including Superstar Rich Evans of Ellen fame. It's one of my most prized possessions. Wow, I'm really jealous. I am very jealous. I wish I had that. I'm a big fan. Um, oh gosh, I'm very jealous. Mike says Uncut Gems looks so interesting, or intriguing, excuse me. I'm surprised that everyone in the media is so shocked that Sandler can take a serious role. He was phenomenal in Punch Drunk Love. That he was. And so, that he was. Really great. Unity Duty and Destiny says Dice Game. My first 4K purchases were Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and one of the discs included with the recent Twin Peaks from Z to A box set. That's great. You know, my Twin Peaks Z to A box set has not yet arrived. I did pre-order it, but it's still on its way, so I look forward to getting that. I have the Twin Peaks already on a number of formats, but that ZK box set was just I couldn't resist, you know. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, yeah, this isn't 4K. This is Blu-ray, DVD, and I think there's a digital code, I think. But and Malachite says, "What are your thoughts on The Mandalorian?" You know, I don't have. I have. Japan is called Disney Theater or Disney something. Disney Deluxe. That's what it's called. And Disney Deluxe was the. I think it was actually offered here in Japan prior to Disney Plus being offered in North America. So actually, we in Japan had Disney streaming services before Disney Plus was available in North America. And I think part of it was a kind of maybe a almost like a trial run, if you will, of the streaming service here in Japan. So in fact, I also got an iPad and my current iPhone at the time that there was a kind of a campaign going on. You could have Disney Deluxe for free for a certain trial period. And so I said, okay, what the heck? And so I decided to have it downloaded. And it's on my iPad that my daughter uses. And so she's been watching all these Disney shows there in English, which is great because it's sometimes difficult for us to get English language programming suitable for kids. So we're very much keen on trying to give my children as much English language exposure as possible. And so part of that is watching Disney programming, and she's a big fan of the animated programs, and so is my little son as well. So we're able to watch the new Disney shows like was it like Puppy Dog Pals or DuckTales or Vampirina. I don't know. Maybe those of you who have kids, maybe you know what I'm talking about here. Or the Muppet Babies. I used to watch the Muppet Babies, the old animated Muppet Babies as a kid. And so I watched the new Muppet Babies. I really liked that very much. And also, what is it? PJ Masks. I really like that one too. I like PJ Masks very much. But the point is that actually, so we in Japan, or here in Japan, we had the Disney Deluxe streaming service, or Japanese version of it anyway. And part of that was we could also see certain Marvel films, and you could also see Star Wars films through streaming. And so my daughter is a big fan of the service, so we've continued it because we wanted to, and my son as well, so we wanted to allow them the ability to be able to watch these. They haven't seen the Star Wars films through it. They haven't seen the Marvel films, and neither have I, for the most part. So I guess, so I do have the opportunity to see films now, I guess, like Black Panther, but I haven't seen it yet. That's a bit embarrassing to admit, but I haven't seen other films, other like Ant-Man or anything like that. I still haven't seen, what is it? What's that film called? Endgame? So I guess I should see that, but I suppose I have to see some other films first before I see Endgame. I understand this whole, I kind of know kind of understand that there's an order that I have to watch the films in, but but all that is being said, The Mandalorian is not available to watch through the Japanese version of the Disney streaming service here. So I don't watch The Mandalorian. I don't. I've heard some things about it already, and it looks very intriguing. I know that there's. I know that there's a I know that there's very much a lot of buzz around a particular aspect of the Mandalorian TV show, and it's becoming part of a kind of a the marketing blitz on this particular character is quite intense. I understand, and I'm not talking about the Werner Herzog character. So I guess I'm looking forward to it, I suppose, but. Even if it becomes available, I don't know if I'll rush out and watch it necessarily, but because there's just so many other things that I really want to watch. That it's not to say that it's a bad thing. Maybe I do want to watch it, but there's just so many other things that I really want to watch. But if I am able to watch those, then I'll try to get that. But so that's my long-winded way of saying that I haven't seen The Mandalorian yet. Let's see. So Malachite says, I don't have a Disney Plus subscription, but have been watching clips on YouTube. It looks quite good. Yes. So I also have been watching, not everything, but I've been watching, like the first episode had some clips, or maybe it was a trailer or something, and I saw that, and it looked pretty interesting, but again, I really can't say anything more because I haven't seen anything beyond that. Let's see here. And all right, so and then Unity, Duty, and Destiny continues. I have no 4K gear aside from my computer monitor, though LOL. Maybe one day I will get to enjoy them. And then Unity, Duty, and Destiny continues. I am more interested in 10-bit color versus 8-bit color. However, my primary viewing display is a projector, and the difference is more apparent on larger screens. I can imagine that for sure. That's really great. That is really wonderful. So I am quite impressed with the projector. I think that's. I wish I had room for a projector here, but unfortunately, there's not enough space. Space considerations here means that I can't have a projector space here, unfortunately. But maybe one day, if we move, maybe I can convince my wife to allow me to have my own special projector room. I don't know, but I'm not sure if she'll agree to that. But Farhan says, "Oh, hello, how are you? See Anima on Netflix?" No, I haven't. No, it's been a very busy time for me over these past few weeks. Let's see. Malachite said, "Oh, sorry." Carl's Ransom Reviews. Hello. I want to see the new movie Weathering with You by Shinka. Oh, yes. And Malachite says, "I dream of having a 4K projector." And Unity, Duty, and Destiny says, "A projector was by far my best investment into anything related to visual media. I use it every day." That's great. And with that, my friends, I must start going. I must get going. It has already been, I think, almost an hour. So I started at 11:50, and now I see that it's now 12:48 where I am. So I'm a little bit, I admit to being a little bit groggy. I'm kind of getting sleepy. So I don't even know if I'll be able to watch. Maybe I'll go to sleep and wake up early and watch this. I must admit I'm getting a little bit sleepy. So, so if I haven't answered your question, then I apologize. Yeah, I apologize, but let me just answer these last two, and then I'll call it an evening. So Miscellaneous Rubbish, hello. Solaris or Andrei Rublev? And are you asking me to choose one or the other? If so, I can't quite. It's too difficult a choice. It's like trying to choose between, do I want air or do I want water? But I mean, it really depends on one's mood, I suppose. I guess I can cheat, and I'll say both. But if you didn't want me to cheat, then I'll probably say I do have I have a kind of maybe, let's say, raw emotional reaction and fondness for Andrei Rublev. I think I I haven't had a chance to speak about that film yet, have I, here on this channel? And it's kind of a shame. I wish I had more time. I find that film to be a kind of a, it's I don't want to use the word meditation. It's not quite an accurate description of how I feel about the film, but I feel like it's a very it's a kind of moving let me how should I put it? It's like a moving landscape of the of depictions of the leaps of possibility in human existence. Those leaps of possibility being both positive leaps in terms of great discoveries and artistic endeavors and creativity, that's the key. But also leaps of possibility in terms of violence and the kinds of horrific things that man or humanity is able to inflict upon other humans. So it goes both ways. And I find that landscape depiction to be enthralling and like all-consuming. It takes every ounce of energy from me, and I feel sapped to the point where, with all the highs and lows of that film, and the way it resolves in its progress, right? Because it's kind of an episodic film, as you know. Every episode of the film operates as a kind of 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 a of of a sort of a hypothesis, if you will, on on a leap of human endeavor in one of these directions. Right? We see the leap of the leap of human endeavor from one point A to point B, whether that be a positive leap or a negative leap. And along the way, we see Andrei Rublev either trying to engage with this or maybe retreating from this and then trying once again to engage with it as the film reaches its sort of triumphant end, as it were. But it's all it feels to me like it's about this idea, the impulse of human creativity, whether it be for good or for not so good. But which therefore explains the very opening shot, right? With the well, I don't want to get into too many details if you haven't seen it, but it's all about this idea, I think, of the leaps and bounds and possibilities and disappointments of human endeavor. And oh gosh, what a grand statement to make in cinema, and to make it with such poetic kind of confidence in terms of one's ability to evoke a kind of poetic emotional response, or not a poetic or emotional, so what I'm saying, use of poetry to evoke an emotional response, I think is it's a kind of one-of-a-kind experience. And so Andrei Rublev is, it remains a film, it remains within me, I think, and so it will always stay with me. Nothing against Solaris, of course. I'm a big fan of Solaris, but it's yeah. I think if I had to choose, but I really don't like it. But I don't want to choose. I really don't like to choose. But if I had to choose, I would probably have to go with the latter. And then Iacona23 says, Daisuke, do you follow Kino Lorber releases? I do, but not very carefully as much as others. And Miscellaneous Rubber says, I'll just get both then. That is the best answer, my friend. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's a great response. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You that made my day. Thank you very much. And Emmy says, so funny, I just saw Rublev. I'm a painter. Oh, that's great. And I was more than satisfied, which says a lot because most films about painters are terribly executed, overly sappy, and overall embarrassing. Yes, I think, yes, it is about a painter and about an artist. It is. And maybe my description of the film neglected to mention that because not to say that that's not important. It is very important. It's very important indeed. But there is this idea, I think, of the examination of creativity, human endeavor and creativity, whether that be an artistic endeavor or whether it be a kind of technological development. Whether that technology be, like a hot air balloon or a bell or something, these sorts of things are at the forefront of what's going on here. But those are also not only the things that we are talking about, but those are also visual metaphors for something broader about the human spirit. Again, I don't want to sound too lofty here. But that film is all about the human endeavor. And it's great to see. It's so inspiring to see. It's also very frightening to see. It's very cold, and it can be very disappointing in terms of the results that are had on screen as we are seeing them. It's also a very intense film. There are some bits of the film that I think might be too unpleasant for people to watch. But again, this is not meant to get into too much detail about Andrei Rublev, but I do understand that it is a very demanding film. It is a very harsh film in some respects, and again, it's not for everyone, but it's one that lingers with me still. And I actually haven't seen it in quite a while. When was the last time I saw it? I haven't seen it in a while, actually, but I did see it earlier this year. Maybe it was around... Maybe it was actually, was it October, I think? So actually, not actually, it was pretty recent, right, now that I think about it. But it's the Criterion Blu-ray of it. And so it's a kind of, I think it's a work that that has the potential, at least, to speak well beyond its strict narrative confines. And it has the power to speak to anyone, even in the modern age, with with a kind of great deftness and lightness of touch, but it still does not shy away from brutality. It does not shy away from a kind of coldness that is still very, I think, essential in if we're trying to talk about a real balanced work of art. So, so Andrei Rublev. But, gosh, do I want to spend some time on Solaris as well? Yeah, what the heck. So, but the other side of the coin, of course, when your question is, of course, the film Solaris. Now, the work Solaris, I think, is one of these, it's like a deceptive film. And I mean that not in a negative light. It's deceptive because by its very nature, it's meant to be deceptive. We are meant to try to question, or not try to, but we are meant to be questioning what it is we are seeing, because the characters on film are essentially questioning what it is they're seeing. They're what is real and what isn't real. And that is, I think, in many respects, kind of the ultimate question, sort of ultimate, existential question, or just to put it even in very mild or simpler terms that I am capable of. It's this idea of perception and our lives beyond ourselves. What does it mean to have emotional experiences, connections with people that we perceive to be outside of ourselves? And there is a huge gap between ourselves and the things that lie outside of ourselves. And so to have an emotional experience, I think, is a miraculous thing. But I think the film questions that very experience itself, and it questions the connections that we have, or at least the characters have, and therefore, by proxy, it allows us to think about the connections that we have with those outside of ourselves. And what do I mean by the friends, family, loved ones? And it really examines what is the basis for one's devotion to another human being, and it places that in the context of the science fiction art film that is also not presented in a cold manner. There are touches of almost, how should I put it, irrationally based beauty. There are things that don't necessarily make sense, but we are left with a kind of visual poetic spectacle that is undeniably out of this world, enthralling. Along with that, we are given a very deep philosophical discussion along the lines of what I perceive it to be based on what I've just said, right? The inner and the outer, ourselves and those which are outside of ourselves. And how are we to make sense of all this, especially when it can become very confusing, right? And then this leads into these ideas, right, of empathy, or sympathy, but also in particular empathy. And what does it mean to be empathetic, right? And what does it mean, therefore, to not only experience pain and heartbreak and also happiness, but how can we share in those experiences when when we understand them to be being experienced by people or things outside of ourselves? Where does that lie in between? What is the relationship between that and the line of empathy, which I was trying to refer to? All this stuff, it leads into this huge spiral of question and answer and question and answer, and then further question and then further question from there, which I think it becomes a brilliant it becomes a brilliant kind of means of introspection. Many of Tarkovsky's works are like that. Mirror, most definitely. Stalker, most definitely. But I think Solaris has that edge to it of being this seemingly straightforward science fiction film, but really it's not straightforward at all. And I think that it becomes something that it becomes very easy to envelop oneself in, because the questions that it raises can only be answered, at least from my point of view anyway, can only be answered by relying on one's own personal experience, which is one of the great hallmarks, I think, of a Tarkovsky work. I think the ultimate example of that, by the way, is his film Mirror, which I haven't spoken about yet, but I would love the opportunity. Oh gosh, I would love the opportunity to talk about that film, but oh well. Anyway, so I hope that is. I hope that's okay. I didn't mean to go over, so but I thought, to be fair to Solaris, I should give some time to it. So. Anyway, sorry about going over like that. I hope you don't mind. Davey Devolutionist here. Hello, happy Yuletide, Daisuke, and all watching. Yes, and season's greetings to you as well, my friend. I hope you're well. Iacona23, thanks. I say, no, thank you, my friend. And believe me, I know exactly what you're talking about with these Star Wars films. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And Mark L says, hello, Daisuke, nice to hear you laugh. Have I? Maybe I don't laugh that much. I don't usually laugh when I make videos. I think I laughed a little bit when I was making my video about The Room, the Tommy Wiseau film, The Room. That's a very funny film, and I thought it was actually very funny to try to talk about it. It's a really good film. Well, actually, I don't want to. I'm going to keep talking, and I actually want to get to start going to sleep soon, but so I'll leave that for another day. Let's see. Okay, ME. Easily one of my favorite films. I think you're referring to Andrei Rublev, right? Really made me want to look further into Byzantine art. I'm going to have to watch it again. Really preferred it to Stalker even. Yes, Stalker is, again, oh man, gosh, there's not enough time in the day. I would love the opportunity to talk about Stalker as well. Oh my goodness. Oh, do I have time? I really have to go. I really have to go. But okay, we'll have to save that for another day. But, yes, and Alexander Decroix. I hope I got that right. How interesting! I'll have to check this out. Yes, please, please. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, please let me know. Once again, maybe that should be a New Year's resolution for the year 2020 to speak of the Tarkovsky works. But, with Tarkovsky, gosh, I cannot speak to it as an expert. I can only speak to it as a casual observer. Oh, man. Oh, man. But, well, we'll think about it. We'll have to think about it because I would love the opportunity, but just, again, not enough hours in the day. But we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, my friends, let me end it there. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch and for just listening to this incoherent blah from me. So thank you. And it's nice to see you. And for those of you for whom I might have skipped over a comment, I really apologize. Really, I don't mean to do that. It's just I'm doing the very best I can. But if I skipped over your comment, please accept my apologies. It wasn't meant to. I didn't mean to do that. But I hope you can understand. And if you want to continue to comment, you can leave a comment here or another video or however you please. And it's now, I think, the 22nd here officially, since it's now 1:07 a.m. here. But it's now the 22nd, and so it is maybe for some people a holiday season. Maybe for others it's not. For me here in Japan, there is a Christmas, but it's more of it's not a religious holiday, and it's not even a holiday for us. So we don't have Christmas vacation or anything like that. So I have work. I have a full day of work next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But after that, we will have a week off because the New Year's celebration is very important to Japanese culture and the country. And so at the very least, people will usually have some time off, unless they have a special kind of work which calls for working throughout the New Year's. Of course, that's a different thing entirely. Not everyone has the time off, let me put it that way, but it's still a very special time. So I'll have a week off, and so I'll be, not this coming week, but the week after. So I have one more week of work, and then after that I will be able to go to I'll be able to take a break, and so that'll be very interesting. So I look forward to and actually I'll be away from Tokyo. I'll be going back to I'll be going out of town. My family and I will be out of town for a little bit. So, but my point is that I think for a number of you out there, it might be a holiday season, and so I made a video, separate video, extending to you my season's greetings, wishes. But it doesn't hurt to do it again, of course, right? Which is once again for all of you for whom it is a season's holiday season. Maybe now, or it was a holiday season early, perhaps. Whatever the case may be, I hope you're having a wonderful holiday time. Really, I hope you're having a wonderful holiday time, and that you are enjoying yourselves. And even if you are not enjoying yourselves for whatever reason, even if there is some kind of unhappiness or some kind of stress or discomfort, whatever the case may be, and whatever the cause may be, I hope whatever it may be, I hope it becomes alleviated and better as soon and as swiftly as possible, whatever it may be. So that is my way of saying that. I hope you are all doing well. And for those of you for whom it is not a holiday season, like myself, I hope you're doing well yourselves. And please take good care of yourselves. For some of you, it might be cold outside. I know it's very cold where I am. So sometimes it might be at the time of season where one is prone to catching cold or becoming sick or something like that. So just take good care of yourselves, and really take really good care of yourselves, and take good care of those your loved ones around you. That's the most important thing. And once I'm maybe I say this often, but I say it because I really mean it. That's the most important thing, to take care of the things that are important to you. And once you have done that, whatever they are or whoever they may be, but once you have done that, my friends, then please enjoy your time, and hopefully that might mean watching a couple of fun films in the interim. So if that's the case, I hope you enjoy yourselves to the limit. And please let me know, and please let all of us know how those are. So with that, my friends, thank you very much for stopping by, and I hope you have a great rest of your day wherever you are. So thank you very much. I will be here for the upcoming week. So I'm still here for one more week. So I don't have a vacation just yet. So I have one more week. So there are a couple of videos that I have to do. I still have to finish the viewer poll list. I just finished making the video, actually. So I just have to edit it together. So that'll probably be up tomorrow morning my time, and then after that I will do one more video on the viewer poll, and I'll be done with that. So there's that. And also I have to do, it's the end of the year already. My goodness, oh goodness, time really flies, and it'll soon be 2020. So I have to do the I've already made my categories, and I've already made most of my selections for my favorite criterions from 2019 or something like that. So I will try to set up a number of videos next week, starting that. So that'll probably start next week, and that'll culminate in, my favorite criterion releases from 2019 or something like that. And that I have a list, but my list is changing like by the minute. So I don't know if I'll be able to. I don't know if it'll be properly cemented by the time I shoot the video, but it might still be somewhat unstable in that films might weave in and out of the ranks that I've established. But that's all part of the fun, I suppose. And it's just my own personal list. Everyone has his or her own preferences, which I welcome always, my friend. So thank you very much, and I will see you again. I will be here next week, so I will see you. And until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and take good care of yourselves. And Raven Q222. Hello, I'm glad I caught you. So I hope you're well, my friend, and all of you as well, all my other friends here. Please be well, and talk to you soon. So good night from Tokyo. And it'll have to be good night for me because I am about to fall asleep. So I don't think I'll be watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood now. Excuse me. But I will go to sleep and then wake up early and try to watch it before the family wakes up. So I'm looking forward to it very much. So this is the so I'm looking forward to it very much. So anyway, my friends, thank you, and good night from Tokyo.